Guys, good evening and a very warm welcome to you. We're live. My name's Joe, and I'm joined here tonight by my good friend and colleague, ex-colleague, but more importantly, a very famous screenwriter, Mr. Alex Mills. We're taking some time tonight, as you know, to take a kind of sidestep away from the tougher conversations in our Let's Talk About series and kick back with something we're all doing during life on lockdown, with watching a lot of film and a lot of TV. So I'll ask Alex to just quickly introduce himself to us. Alex.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex Mills. As Joe said, we used to work together, and I have a background in film and media. I have a degree in film and a master's degree in writing for script and screen. I am also a screenwriter in my free time, whenever I do have free time.
Fantastic. Alex, you've got what films to share with us tonight?
I have brought to the table The French Dispatch, Black Widow, and Soul.
Very nice. And the reasons for those choices?
I'm just genuinely looking forward to them. I'm also a screenwriter in my free time.
Sorry.
Whenever I do have free time.
Yes, no apologies, that's me. Here we go. Okay, hopefully that's better. Okay, so we're going to start with our first film, and this is one of Alex's choices, The French Dispatch. I'm going to share the trailer. We're going to be sharing trailers tonight with you and talking through our thoughts, why we believe these are important ones to keep an eye on for this year. As Alex has said, he's got a love of film. I've also got a love of film. All we would do as ex-colleagues basically is talk about film. We'd drink tea and talk film. That's all we basically did, let's be honest. We're going to show the trailer now to you. For those that we can, we're subtitling. But obviously this first one unfortunately doesn't. So we're playing it at half volume, so hopefully you can hear both us and the trailer. So this is the first one that's caught us our eye.
It began as a holiday. Eager to escape a bright future on the Great Plains, Arthur Howitzer Jr. transformed the series of travelogue columns into the French Dispatch, a factual weekly report on the subjects of world politics, the arts, high and low, and diverse stories of human interest.
You don't think it's almost too seedy this time?
No, I don't.
For decent people.
It's supposed to be charming.
He assembled a team of the best expatriate journalists of his time: Berenson, Sazerac, Kremens, Roebuck Wright. These were his people.
Just try to make it sound like you wrote it that way on purpose.
We take as the subject of tonight's lecture Mr. Moses Rosenthal, certainly the loudest artistic
This really
voice
does remind
of
me of
his
Grand
rowdy
Budapest
generation.
Hotel.
Simone naked, cell block J hobby. I want to buy it.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually spoken about his films before.
Yes, it is. No, it is. Yes, it is. No, it is. Yes.
In short, the picture was a sensation.
The kids did this. Obliterated 1,000 years of Republican authority in less than a fortnight. What do they want? Freedom. Full stop.
I'm naked, Mrs. Kremens.
I can see that.
Lieutenant Escoffier is the great exemplar of the mode of cuisine known as police cooking. The aromas of the kitchen cast a spell, which was to be mortally broken.
As you know by now, we have kidnapped your son.
Oh, shut up.
Nice.
A message from the foreman. 1 hour to press.
You're fired.
Really?
Don't cry in my office.
Fantastic. I'm going to replay that, but I will
It began
mute the volume.
Okay.
Alex, choice. I mean, talk us through why this?
Oh, well, I mean, as you said, you can see the influence of his previous films in it. I mean, Grand Budapest Hotel was a fantastic film, and his previous one was Isle of Dogs, which again was definitely unique, and you definitely get that through this trailer. I mean, that cast, the mise en scène of it all, it just looks beautiful and very quirky, much like the rest of his filmography.
For those of you
what's not to enjoy?
Oh, sorry, Alex. But those of you who obviously aren't media savvy like me and Alex, mise en scène, obviously like setting and props. So as Alex has said there, yeah, lots of links to other films by the same director. I'm also interested to see Bill Murray in this one. Haven't seen him for a little while. It's quite interesting.
Well, you should look back at Wes Anderson's catalogue, because you'll definitely see a lot of Bill Murray in it, in some very, very interesting roles.
Really?
Yeah.
The cinematography is quite invasive as well. I'm seeing us get quite close up to characters. We're kind of put in this particular moment up close and personal. Yeah, it's got a very comedic style to it.
But yeah, the cast, it just looks fantastic. But when I was reading about it the other day, I saw that it was supposed to premiere at Cannes this year, but obviously with that being cancelled and spread out across the world, it's going to see its premiere in another format, really.
Do you know how this is being premiered?
No, I haven't. Not for this one. No. I've tried not to sort of read too much into the film to try and avoid any spoilers, really. Like with most of the films we're going to be sort of talking about this evening, try to go in as easy as possible.
I love as well this almost very old, almost sepia style to it. It looks very old, very quirky. It is literally, if you've never seen it, viewers, Grand Budapest Hotel, very funny film. It's got that very quirky style about it. Fantastic. That's definitely one to keep an eye on. Definitely one to keep an eye on. I'm going to jump in next and share next one with you. Greyhound has caught my attention. And the reason being, I'm a huge fan of Tom Hanks. And when he gets involved with a film to actually write it or be part of it, he's done the screenplay for this one. You know it's going to be good. Critics have said this is pretty much his next Saving Private Ryan. And we're going back to 1998 on that. Obviously, he was involved with, was it Band of Brothers in 2001?
Yeah, I think so.
But you see a very similar style in this. So I'll play the trailer for you.
What are we going to do? We'll rain hell down from on high.
Congratulations on your first command at last.
I'll always be looking for you, Evie, even if I'm 1,000 miles away.
Air escort to Greyhound. You will now be out of range of air cover for the next 5 days. How many crossings does this make?
This is my first.
What we learn here is that Tom Hanks' character, this is his first crossing. And it reminds me of kind of 571.
Yeah, definitely.
We have a kill.
A small team out on mission,
Distress rocket, sir.
being hunted.
We have hits directly on the convoy.
The Wolfpack's on this.
You don't starboard bound!
We've lost 7 ships and 50 souls.
What you did yesterday? Gotta stick today.
It's not enough.
Targets disappeared, sir.
Tom.
What are we gonna do?
We'll bring hell down from on high.
So there's been some, not controversy, but there's been some concern about this one because, of course, the release date has changed and it's been confirmed now that it will be the 10th of July, so not long to wait. But Alex, you were saying that the budget for this was 15 million?
50. That's
50. It just
I looked online, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it just looks so much bigger budget.
But yeah, comparing that to what Apple have paid for it from buying it from Sony, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. So Apple have paid, I believe, 70 million to secure the rights in order to release this on, of course, their platform, Apple TV. There was some conversation that Netflix wanted it, and obviously lost out. But this is, again, a big play, like we saw with other films, including Trolls 2, I think, back in early April time when lockdown began. You know, institutions realised that if we're not going to the cinema, how else are we going to get these films out to people? And Apple have obviously stepped in and bought the rights to this one. I mean, I've realised that this is by Aaron Schneider, who's a well-known director for, is it Get Low? But he's done another film before this, Two Soldiers, and that's it. This doesn't look like a film made by a director who's only had 2 under his belt. It looks very polished. It certainly has the wow factor in terms of style. So really looking forward to this one. It'll be a shame not to see this at the cinema, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I mean, we were going to talk more about this later in terms of sort of what should be seen at the cinema and what you can get away with releasing earlier at home. But this film, definitely does feel like something that should really be seen at the cinema upon release. But I mean, obviously, I'm happy to watch it at home, but I don't have the same setup to really rival a cinema.
Well, it's interesting because I think I remember speaking to you about this when we were together at school, working at school before obviously lockdown and I moved on and everything, but you've just bought yourself Disney Plus?
Yes, yeah.
How are you finding that?
I'm enjoying it, actually. We've just finished watching through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Having most of those available on there has allowed us to sort of watch through it in a different way. We haven't watched through it in terms of when they were released, but in terms of when the film was set. So we started with like Captain America and watched through chronologically, and it was definitely a different experience as to watching through alongside their releases.
Would you?
But I mean, it's definitely. The catalogue is it's huge. I mean, there's something there for everyone. I mean, we're looking through Pixar films at the moment, we're just sort of moving from one to another. It's definitely spoiled for choice with that one.
But this is the thing. I mean, me and Sophie have had this conversation. I mean, we have Netflix, we have Amazon, but do we want to then buy Apple TV? Do we want to then buy Disney Plus? You're spending, £30 odd a month. You then realise, might as well buy Sky, and I don't know. It's a tough one.
That's the issue, isn't it? You start almost getting like a cable package now, where you're sort of picking and then paying a lot more, and I don't know. I think as we go further down the line and people are fighting more for different properties, it might be a bit more interesting and hopefully breed more original pieces.
Well, as we're seeing here, Apple are producing this film, and me and Sophie have just been watching The Morning Show and other productions. I mean, it's interesting that institutions like Netflix, like Apple, are producing content themselves. They're not relying on other film bodies, Universal, 20th Century Fox. They're going out of their way to do it. I mean, I mean, looking at this, £50 million well spent, Apple, and then another 70 to secure the rights. But it just does. It has the wow factor. It looks better than it is on paper. So we'll look forward to that one.
I'm not a massive war movie fan, but I did a bit of research this afternoon into the book that the film's based on.
Yeah,
it's called The Good Shepherd by C.S. Forester, and there are a couple of elements mentioned in the book which, if shown on screen, would be quite interesting, because it deals with problems of early radar systems, early sonar, poor communications between the fleet and Admiralty over radio communications. So I think that, added to what we've seen in the trailer, could possibly provide us with a new take on a war film, especially a submarine war film.
Interesting. Yeah. I think I mentioned this during the trailer. Apologies again, viewers, if we're struggling for audio trying to play the trailers and listening to us, but it did remind me of the old film U571. I forget who was in that, but those kind of sub films, absolutely love those. Love a good kind of action thriller. Yeah, this will be worth a watch. Alex, I'm going to pass back to you, and you thought for us the next one you've got for us ready. Sorry, Soul, is it by Pixar?
Yes, it's the upcoming Pixar film.
Okay, I'll play the trailer.
What is this place?
What's your name, honey?
I'm Joe. I teach middle school band. Got it, go for it! Today started out as the best day of my life.
Back here tonight, first show's at 7.
Yes! Woohoo! You know what that's gonna say? Joe Gardner! I did it! I got the gig!
Must have been sudden for you.
What? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness! Huh? Is this heaven?
No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth.
Meet 22.
I don't want to go to Earth.
Stop fighting this.
I don't want to. Okay, look, I already know everything about Earth, and I don't want anything to do with it.
You're missing out on the joys of life, like pizza. I can't smell. We can't taste either?
All that stuff is in your body.
No smell, no taste.
Or touch. See?
Okay, I get it. Wow, it's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for? You're still alive?
Can you help me get back?
No way!
There I am. What are we waiting for?
Wait, not me!
This weird.
What is it?
151,000 souls going to the great beyond every day. And I count every single one of them. The count's off.
Huh.
Interesting. That reminds me of there was a Pixar short which was two clouds which were kind of inversed. I forget what it was called.
Is that Night and Day?
Night and Day, well done.
Yeah. Absolutely,
yeah. And this has that kind of very similar style where they're drawn in pencil in an inverted way, black and white, as they move through worlds.
Yeah.
That kind of inspiration. Interesting. Right, talk us through, Alex, why this one?
You saw the trailer. Everyone saw the trailer. I mean, it says at the beginning, Inside Out and Coco, two beautiful films. They're so powerful. And I think seeing a Pixar take on death and afterlife and the great before, as it's called in this, I think it'd be really interesting to see how they handle such topics.
Yeah. I was just doing some bit of research. I don't know what the actual film will be, the theatrical release, but the trailers are all rated as U, so we probably expect a similar rating. But as you say, interesting that a topic like this is being handled in a very now child on family friendly film. It does look very funny. There's an element of comedy here, which really does attract me. Do we know when this is coming out? UK?
It was supposed to be this Friday.
Was it
the
really?
19th of June was supposed to be the original release, but obviously where things have been pushed back now, I believe it's November the 20th.
Okay. So we've had I should say hello to Dale Pacey, if you're watching, sir. He used to work with us at our same school. So thank you for the comment. Hope you're well and enjoying the review. I know you were also a film fan, so Dale, good to hear from you. Alex, any other final thoughts on kind of why we should be looking forward to this one?
Music-wise, you got John Batiste doing some original jazz pieces for the film, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are apparently doing the score for it. So
Right.
Definitely going to be one to listen to when it comes out.
Very, very nice. It looks wonderful. I haven't actually seen, you mentioned the name earlier, sorry, the previous Pixar film. What was it called again?
Well, Onward.
Onward. Still haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But I've had some thoughts that it's possibly, out of the entire Pixar catalogue, the first not so good.
There are elements that I really enjoyed. I mean, you know what you're getting with a Pixar film. It had all of those elements, but I don't think it was as strong as some of the greats.
This hopefully looks like, yeah, as you say, a very unique film, which will again set a kind of something to talk about, something a little different. I'm looking forward to this one. Pixar have never done me wrong. I almost don't want to watch Onward to spoil the trend, but we'll see. So you say it was supposed to be 19th of June, but it's going to now be
20th of November. Yeah.
Okay. All right, fantastic. And yeah, hopefully we, consider maybe that a U or a PG at best for rating. So parents out there, consider Soul as definitely one to think about when we can all leave life of lockdown. The next film was one of my choices, and it's of course the very famous sequel or prequel to the DC Cineverse Wonder Woman. The first one was fantastic, and this one is going to just blow us out of the water, I think, style-wise. Some of the effects in this are just mind-blowing. Take a look.
My life hasn't been what you probably think it has. We all have our struggles.
Have you ever been in love?
A long, long time ago. You?
So many times. Yeah, all the time.
Welcome to the future. Life is good, but it can be better. And why shouldn't it be? All you need is to watch it. Think about finally having everything you always wanted.
I can see it today. But you can save the world.
Now, I take what I want in return. Everyone must see.
Needs you.
You know what you need to do.
Nothing good is born from lies. And greatness is not what you think.
art. That's just the trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, cinematic style again, phenomenal. Some of the graphic style that we're seeing there almost reminds me of The Matrix, with the slow motion. But what I like to see as well is this actor here, this lady, who was obviously part of the new Ghostbusters reboot, hoping that bringing characters like this, actors like this, doesn't bring too much of a comedic feel into it. I've always had the argument with friends, and Ben Martin, if you're listening, that's you, that Marvel films can sometimes get a little bit too comedic. And that's possibly what some audiences like about DC. And I feel that Wonder Woman particularly was been a story of a little bit more honesty and a sense of maturity, and, you know, fighting for that cause. I'm interested to see, I was just typing to Alex off screen that Steve, I thought, died in the first one. It'd be very interesting to know how they're going to play this. Alex, I think you've mentioned something in reply to me. If you know, share it with us.
Yeah, I believe he sort of sacrifices himself at the end of the first one. It's been a while since I watched it. I think he flies off in a plane with something that's going to kill everyone, and it ends up, killing him. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they explain it, or who it actually is if it's not him, and whether they're going to use that to sort of, I don't know, introduce. I've seen things about multiverses being introduced into the DC universe, and obviously because you've got the Flash and stuff like that, whether that can introduce any of these sort of elements to the extended universe. I've no idea. I've got a note written down here saying, how is Steve alive? So
I just wonder again if we're going to have a third and a fourth, like other DC titles. I mean, this type of shot again is why we love these amazing, you know, multi-genre type films. And it's again nice to see a female playing the protagonist, playing the main role, and leading that. And it's also nice to have that comedic element like this with the trash can, but also that Steve is being brought into the future, although it is, in our perspective, the past. It does say on that, obviously, June the 5th, but from what I understand, it's going to be released in the UK on August the 14th, although it was expected on October the 2nd. Trailers are around a 12A, so hopefully we're going to see that in the same kind of rating. But that, from my perspective, is definitely one to look out for. I love the director as well. She has a fantastic eye for putting you in the scene. Almost that voyeuristic Alfred Hitchcock way from, you know, the thriller days. There was a scene I remember from the first Wonder Woman where she fights in a very close, I think it's an apartment, and the way, similar to, again, to Matrix, where the scene stops and you are taken round the object in almost like bullet time, I think the technique is called. It just blows my mind. And it just, those little things which, you know, directors are looking to push with, I think, make our experience just, you know, all that better. So, you know, what we're going through tonight, caliber-wise, is really setting the bar. And with that said, beautiful segue into Alex's next choice, Black Widow. Over to you, sir.
I tell people my sister moved out west. You're a science teacher. Your husband, he renovates houses. You're thinking about moving, but you're gonna wait until the interest rates go down.
That's not my story. Before I was an Avenger, I made mistakes. And a lot of enemies.
His call sign's Taskmaster. He controls the Red Room. They're manipulated, fully conscious, but no choices.
I should have come back for you.
How many others are there? Enough.
We have to go back to where it all started, so they never do that to anyone again.
a family. We fight with you.
You won't win.
I've always felt it best not to look into the past.
Okay, you got a plan, or shall I just stay duck and cover?
My plan was to drive us away.
Well, your plan sucks.
At some point, we all have to choose between what the world wants you to be and who you are. I made my choice. I'm done running. Here's what's gonna happen.
Natasha, don't slouch.
I'm not slouching.
You're going to get the back hunch.
Listen to your mother.
Oh my god, this. All right, enough. All of you.
You didn't say anything. That's not fair.
Wow.
So yeah, film 24 in the MCU.
Is it really?
That, the 24th film.
It's getting
and
close
then,
to that.
Because that's now been pushed from May to November. And I think that's now taken the spot of the Eternals, which has been pushed to February next year. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to find out what they're all about, because I don't really know much about them, not having sort of read the comics. But I'm more than happy to wait. But this definitely feels more standalone than a lot of the other MCU sort of origin films. This is set between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. So, I mean, there's that 2-year gap between films. It'd be interesting to see what this film adds to the timeline, whether it does, or it'd just be nice to see Black Widow's character be sort of fleshed out a bit more.
Well, what do you
sort of find out about?
Alex, what do you hope when you say that? What are you hoping for that it adds?
Just because she's very much been not a sideline character, but there's not been a lot of focus on her backstory. There's always sort of passing comments. I mean, there's the conversations with Hawkeye and stuff like that, and you find out sort of her training and stuff like that, but you don't get a sort of sense of anything more than that.
Enigma, hasn't she? You
Yeah.
don't really know. Yeah.
I mean, that trailer there's the final trailer, and it feels like there's not a lot in the trailer that's tying it to the rest of the films, apart from her saying she's an Avenger, and you've got the I can't remember his character now, but who was in charge of the Sokovia Accords in the Civil War, when they introduced the political side of it and sort of caused the rift between them.
Yeah. I'm just responding to comments and just want to say a big shout out to John. Thank you ever so much. Glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, I forget which side of the fence you sit, Alex, but Marvel or DC. Marvel films are good, but I know, as you say, 24, I mean, do we need that many?
I mean, I can't help but praise Marvel for what they've done with building this universe. I mean, it's been strong the whole way through, basically. There's been a few sort of blips, but I think the conclusion of the first bit with Endgame it's just so satisfying following it for so long.
Yeah. Do we know what the budget is for this? I mean, again, it just looks incredibly, you know, of a spectacle. Well, it's phenomenal.
Let's have a quick look. Well, it says between 150 and 200 million.
Wow. Yeah. It will be interesting to see, as you say, how they provide the link to her fitting in with the remainder of the kind of the narrative arc, the overall MC Universe storyline. There's other characters like this lady here. And this gentleman I don't recognise. I imagine there to play a future part, perhaps. I don't know if you've done any further research on that.
Not really, no. So I mean, again, going into this, like I said, I'm going to be going into the Eternals. Like, I don't really have a lot of knowledge about their backstories anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, great choice. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think I prefer the origin stories rather than the bigger type Avenger films. It's almost like too much to follow. Again.
Yeah, some of the issues I've had with the sort of standalone ones is when they have sort of large scale things that warrants the Avengers being in it. So it's
Exactly.
sort of, they're sort of making it too big for themselves, really.
Yeah. Great choice. Definitely one again to keep an eye out for. A final one which we have both fallen in love with, although Alex refuses to know too much about it. It's one of my favourite directors, Christopher Nolan, and this is Tenet, T-N-E-T, and there's so much to talk about regarding this one. So we'll play the trailer and get straight into this one.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too. Use it carefully.
To do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
As I understand it, we're trying to prevent World War III.
I'm not saying Armageddon here.
No. Something worse.
I gather you have an interest in a certain Russian national.
Why don't you bring me in? You really want to know? He can communicate with the future. Time travel? No. Inversion.
Maybe it would pull the trigger. You're shooting the bullet. You're catching it.
Well, I've seen too much. Well, we'll try and keep up.
Your duty transcends national interests. This is about survival.
Seems bold.
Bold, I'm fine with it. I thought you were going to say nuts.
This is where our worlds collide. How would you like to die?
Old.
You chose the wrong profession.
Well, happened here. Hasn't happened yet.
There are people in the future who need us. We need a Tenet.
We need to save them here and now. It's reversing the flow of time. Wasn't us being here now, and it never happened. You want to crash a plane, but not from the air. Don't be so dramatic. Well, how big a plane?
That part is a little dramatic.
Okay. This one clearly caught both of our eyes. John David Washington, who plays the lead role here, is obviously well known for Black Klansman and co-produced Book of Eli with Denzel Washington. He plays this part perfect. And I think Nolan's picked somebody who has a very, not concerned and worried, but he has such a focus through his mannerism and his body language. He plays the part with such focus. It's great to see a Black lead role. One of the things which is really making me desperate to watch this, as very similar to what we saw in other Nolan films, Interstellar and Inception, is Nolan's messing about with the clock. We're seeing here, even in the trailer, time reversed. And me and Alex were talking just quickly off screen before, and we'll get into this a lot in a second, I'm sure. Are we watching here the narrative one way and then the other? Are we watching the same scene forward and then backwards? There's been lots of reviews and talk online about what this film actually is. Is it a sequel to Inception? Don't know from the trailers that you can make that link narrative-wise. But again, it's going to be a first of its kind if Nolan is able to allow us as the audience to watch a scene both backwards and forwards, but in a linear fashion, as in a continuing fashion. Alex, step in. I mean, you love this film.
Yeah, no. I mean, like one of the key moments of that trailer is when they say that it's not time travel, that it's inversion. And it's like, well, what are they going to do now to put their own twist on time travel? Like we were talking before, there's all these things throughout that could point to all these different things, and I like how cryptic it is. But I saw something with Robert Pattinson I think a few weeks ago where I think it was Robert Pattinson, where he was surprised that there was a certain moment in the trailer as well. So are they getting cocky with what they're showing us just to sort of, because they can, because it's very cryptic. I mean, I've no idea what's actually going on in that trailer. A key moment as well is where they're going through the concert hall, and it looks like the whole audience is like dead or passed out. Like, what's caused that? And it's definitely interesting.
I remember being in the cinema with some friends. I don't know how many months ago it was now. It could have been just before or after Christmas, and the film that we were watching, IMAX, actually was playing the start of this, and we didn't realize it at first. We thought we were in the wrong screen until we realized that this is actually like a special showing. And I remember being in it thinking, wow, what are we watching? This is phenomenal. It's interesting as you say that, because I side with a lot of kind of people's thoughts that Nolan almost has his own style. I mean, we recognize the genre here. It's going to be action thriller, action conspiracy, but it's just the style. It's the way it's filmed. And again, like you say, it's Nolan taking risks. This is going to be a film that is going to, again, like we saw with Inception, not like we saw with the Dark Knight type trilogy, it's just going to set a bar. And I love seeing Michael Caine. I'm so happy that he uses him every time. And I do hope, should have done the research, I do hope that he's using Hans Zimmer for the music. I'm sure my sister knows. Maybe text me if you're watching. Even the title is reversible. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out. Even the line here, you're not firing the bullet, you're catching it. But it's not reversed. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
There's one kind of final point which I love, and again, Nolan spoke about this in Empire recently in a review. At the end of the trailer, you see, like they did with The Dark Knight Rises, when they flew a plane and they hung one underneath. Do you remember that in that opening scene?
Yes.
The plane they crash in this trailer, in this film, is actually real. It's not CGI. Nolan doesn't like to use CGI, and he's a big fan of filming on 35mm film. He likes the grain, which again, hopefully this, I think it is, but it will be a fantastic IMAX feature. Yeah, the fact that again he's taking those levels, and to crash a plane for real and not use.
Did he say as well that it was cheaper to buy a plane?
You're right. Yeah, that's right. You're right. His research team worked out that it would be cheaper to buy a plane, an actual 747, and crash it, rather than employ CGI. This is going to be my film of the year. This is going to be the number one. You have to watch this. Looking forward to it.
Definitely one that I want to see at the cinema. You can understand why he's fighting for this to be released theatrically, especially with IMAX. Like, with Nolan that it's going to be great.
I think, because you probably know this better than I do, Alex, sorry. He is going to release this he said no to online streaming, is that right? He wants to do it.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was going to be, was it June the 17th to reopen cinemas, but obviously that's not going to happen. It would have been amazing if it had.
Yeah, I mean, what I've got here is that it's supposed to be the 17th of July, but they've pushed it back by 2 weeks to the 31st of July. So, I mean, this could be a whole other point of discussion. Like, when is it going to be best to go back to the cinema? When is it going to be safe enough? Or
we did say we'd talk about it, and it's a good segue. Absolutely. We've both missed the cinema. We've both missed,
definitely,
you know, what the cinema brings and the difference an audience gets and the expensive popcorn and everything else. And if you're not, like we were saying earlier, able to purchase multiple streaming services and be, you know, fortunate enough to have access to Sky Movies, which I think is still showing films on the day of the release anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how Sky Cinema does that with theatrical releases in our current situation of lockdown. But I think, again, that, you know, hopefully cinema can open soon, but it'll be very interesting to see how they do that. It won't be the experience, you know, we've enjoyed with friends previously.
Yeah, because you've got so many things to take into consideration. You've got cleaning, you've got distancing. Rotation, and is going to be, I'd be surprised if it does meet its July release.
Part of me is excited for thinking about the institutions, you know, Mr. 20th Century Fox, Universal, because I think I mentioned earlier, Trolls 2 did this back in March or April, and as a case study, you can do the research. They actually made more money releasing it on a streaming service than they would have done releasing it in the cinema. And I think that maybe, as we've seen with Apple, with Greyhound, maybe that's pushed institutions to think people are at home. You know, we're not going to be in a state of going to the cinema soon. And if we are, it's going to be a very dysfunctional way of doing it. Let's put the product in people's homes.
Especially in terms of sort of pricing, because you're looking at it's about £15, isn't it, for the streaming? When you compare that to taking a group of children to the cinema to watch, say, Trolls, it is cheaper.
It's very true. Yeah, you won't have the size, you won't have the wow factor, but you will have the ability to still watch it, and more importantly, as you say, that community aspect. You know, I know me and you go to the cinema individually because we're that level of geekiness, but lots of people, of course, will want to go with friends and family because the cinema's always been a kind of a social thing. But I am quite interested to see what the landscape of film will be from this point on.
Definitely.
Are all institutions going to push stuff to Netflix and Amazon? And again, like we've seen recently with Netflix, you know, selling off a lot of catalog because of rights, and then Amazon and Apple stepping in to buy them up. Where will institutions go? You know, are we all going to end up buying one? You know, Apple's got the money. Will they monopolize everything, unfortunately? Or, as you've done, you know, go with Disney Plus? It'll be an interesting one. It really will.
Definitely.
I think as well, you get 4K by default on Disney Plus. A lot of streaming services don't, and you're only paying £5 a month.
It's definitely looks good. We've, as I said, been watching the Pixar films, and most of those are 4K, so you're getting it for that price. Whereas with my Netflix subscription, I've got to pay extra for that.
Alex, I want to thank you ever so much for joining me tonight on our Let's Talk About series. We've taken a very different view and looked at more of a leisure entertainment view, but it's been great to talk film. It's been great to catch up.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been great. We're going to have to do this again. Maybe we should do a TV one. And speaking,
I'd be up for that.
Speaking of TV, is there anything on your watch list at the minute that you'd advise?
Well, I'm hoping to, I say rewatch, but watch Dark on Netflix, because I got most of the way through the first season of that, and I'm hoping to catch up with that in time for the 3rd season into next week, end of next week. Again, we've just been mainly films at the moment, but my watch list is slowly rebuilding itself in terms of TV and film. So I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm sure I'll send you some recommendations.
You always do, sir. We'll look forward to having you back on at some point. Guys, it's been great to have you on as well. This will be available on our YouTube stream on Friends International to watch again. So yeah, thanks for being with us, Alex. Guys, take care.